Hi, this is Emily Filoramo. I'm your Success and Happiness Catalyst. This is part 2 of a 3-part video series on how to be happy and raise your self-esteem and boost your self-confidence. In part 1 of this video series, I talked about how our negative and positive core beliefs create our thoughts, which in turn create our feelings, and it forces us to do whatever it is that we do every single day, whether it's positive or negative. And our combination of whether or not we believe in ourselves is a combination of our positive and negative core beliefs. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how we acquired these beliefs in the first place. Before we go on to that, I just want to ask you, can you look in the mirror and say to yourself, I love you. You are the best thing since sliced bread. You're beautiful and you're awesome. I know, that could be a little uncomfortable, and when I talk about that in some of my lectures, I see a lot of people squirming in their seats. And so you're not alone in feeling like, no, I can't say that I'm beautiful into the mirror. Well, it's not your fault. You can't do that. The reason why you can't say that you love yourself unconditionally is because of all of the baggage of your negative core beliefs that you acquired from childhood. So I'll give you an example. Let's say when you were 2 years old, your mom came home with a baby brother. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, why isn't mom paying attention to me anymore? Why isn't she hugging me anymore? She used to hug me all the time. And you're like laying on the floor waiting for some attention while she's nursing the baby and is hugging the baby. So something as simple as that can create a negative core belief that I am not lovable. Because mom is overwhelmed with no sleep. She has no idea that a 2-year-old picks up all of these actions as I'm bad, I'm not worthy. And she didn't know any better, so she didn't reassure you of that. And let's say a 4-year-old part of you, you went to nursery school and you drew this great picture and you couldn't wait for daddy to come home to say, Daddy, look at my picture. Daddy comes home and he says, oh, Johnny, I don't have time for you right now. I've got a lot of stuff going on. And you as a kid, you have no idea how stressful it is to be an adult and to make an income and to come home and to deal with a marriage and family and finances, etc. All you did was took it in as a belief that I'm not lovable and I'm not worthy, and that's why you didn't pay attention to me. Then if you have more and more of these kinds of incidences over and over again, it starts to reinforce your original belief that you are not lovable and you are not worthy. Let's take another example. It could have happened at school. Your second grade teacher puts you in a timeout in the hallway for bad behavior. So there you are, standing in the hallway as the rest of the kids are walking by you, making fun of you. And you're feeling that shame and the humiliation from that second grade incident. So all of those things that I just illustrated to you, those are the things that create negative core beliefs. Because especially before the age of 6, our brains are in a hypnotic trance. It absorbs everything in literally. We don't have the capacity to intellectually realize that it's not us that's not bad. We didn't know what a marriage was. We didn't know that the teacher was punishing us for bad behavior. Not because we are bad, but because our behavior was bad. So no one was there to reassure you that you're not a bad person. And because our brains are in a hypnotic trance, we absorb everything. Because that hypnotic trance and those delta and theta waves are so powerful that a professional hypnotist can make a professional bodybuilder not even be able to lift a pencil when she gets him into this hypnotic state. So what we have to do is get you out of the original hypnotic states that has you believing that you are not worthy of health or wealth or happiness. Let me just illustrate to you what happened with those negative incidences in your brain. So this is my attempt at drawing a brain. And all of those parts of you that I just explained, the 2-year-old part, the 4-year-old part, the part at school, they all created these little parts that live in the basement of your psyche. Because they hold things such as shame and humiliation and unlovability, they've been buried away in the dungeons of your psyche because your psyche just does not want you to visit that pain ever again because it was so humiliating and so painful. And so it's essentially locked away in a jail in the basement of your mind. And to protect your system from ever accessing those hurtful parts, it created these other parts of you to guard the door. It's like these parts are behind locked doors, and these are the soldiers that are guarding the doors. And these soldiers, these are the very ones that make you feel angry and anxious and numb. And they're the parts that make you procrastinate. And they're the parts that make you want to be a perfectionist. All to protect you from going back into that original pain. And all of these parts end up with behaviors such as shopping too much, eating too much, drinking too much, gambling too much, working too much, addicted to illicit drugs, and maybe even an addiction to exercise. So we do all of this stuff to try to numb the emotional pain, because all of this stuff is what runs our life. Remember, that's in the subconscious. This is what's buried in our brain. And what we consciously want to do, such as lose weight or get to that next level of success or that next promotion, well, that only controls 10% of our behavior and our happiness. This is what controls our health, our wealth, and our happiness. So if you don't have the health, wealth, and happiness levels that you so desire, it is because of all of these parts that have been buried in the dungeons of your psyche. And they're waiting for you to heal them, because we can't get rid of these parts. They are all part of who we are. And that's why we become what we think about. And so we think about the memories of these negative toxic events. So these negative core beliefs drives our negative feelings, and it drives the dark cloud that some of us show up with. And the good news is you have the power to heal these parts and free them of this prison that they're in this hypnotic trance that you have been in. Because the brain is like a sponge. And when you heal these parts, then everything else will line up. These things will go away. These things will, the excess of shopping, eating, gambling that don't serve you are going to go away when you heal it. Because when you heal these parts of their negative, faulty beliefs of I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, then the real you, the real highest core version of you that is so lovable and that is so exciting, that is so happy, that is unstoppable, that's the real you that's going to get to emerge when you heal these parts. Les Brown, one of the most influential motivational speakers, said the two most important days of your life. Number one, the day you were born, and number two, the day you discover why you were born. Because one of the other things that you have to do is, you are not your story, but we all have a story. And if you can make lemonade out of the lemons of your negative events that are in the psyches of your mind, you will emerge that day, maybe when you're 50 years old, maybe when you're 40, maybe when you're 60, who knows? It might take a while for you to figure out why you were born by connecting the dots of your life looking backwards. And that is when you will come alive, and that is when you will make sense of your life, and that is when you say, oh my gosh, everything was supposed to happen to me the way that it did. Because now, through the experiences that I had, I could inspire other people to move out of their dark tunnel. And perhaps you start a business that way, you know? Who knows? Who knows what that can be? And just one more thing that I want to add, sometimes these parts are what has created some of the most successful businesses in our country and around the world. Because these parts were always seeking validation, and these inspired so many entrepreneurs to create fabulous businesses. But the unfortunate downside is, there's a lot of miserable rich people. And these miserable rich people are thinking that happiness is when they make $10 million in their business. And then they make $10 million and they're still miserable. Well, they're still miserable because their wounded parts have not been healed. Because they keep seeking the next business as a savior to their happiness. And that is not where happiness lies. Happiness lies when, where happiness lies is when you heal these negative parts of you that were formed when you were younger, that are buried in the dungeons of your psyche. And in the next video, I am going to show you how you could heal these parts. And if you enjoy this video so far, please share this with your friends, and I'll see you on video 3.